Hey, Nigerian ex JW Speaks here. So it's going to be an audio one today. I don't think my face is going to come on, but here we go. Let's ignore that. I hope you're doing well. If it's your first time here, hello, welcome. My name's Chiga. As you can tell from the name of the title, I am a former Jehovah's Witness from Nigeria, and I am sharing my journey of getting out of that and how I'm going on to live life in the hope of helping you do the same if that's something that you want to do. So you can see from the screen here, I've got these people in front of me, and they are going to be the catalyst for the conversation I want to have. If you don't know who any of them is, the man on your screen, that is Marques Houston. He is a current Jehovah's Witness, and that is the lady he just got married to, who happens to be 19. And he is 39, going on 40. Now that made me very uncomfortable. And I just want to explore my feelings on that, why that might be, and just throw some ideas out there. Now, if you have been raised a witness, or you've been in the religion for any length of time, you'll know that there is a real issue with sexuality. There is a lot of demonization of it. In some cases, like in my case, sexual education was not really a proper thing. What you heard was in the Kingdom Hall reference to immorality, day in, day out, week in, week out. Jehovah hates it. It makes Jehovah's heart sad. You want to stay away from it, flee from it, and that's all you got. And so a lot of us come out with a complex relationship with it. We are overly guarded about spending time with people of the opposite sex because you are being suspected. I can't speak. You are being suspected all the time. You know, you cannot be in a room with someone of the opposite sex without someone looking at you funny, without someone going to speak to the elders and say they've seen you do this. And so it's a very paranoid environment. In fact, was it last year there was the Pillowgate videos where they are discouraged from even paying a compliment to someone. You know, a man or a lady has a nice haircut. If you're not married to them, you shouldn't be complimenting them. And so you end up with these complex people who struggle to really get a strong foundation for platonic relationships, you know, just friendships that are completely harmless. And even when you do manage to have that, I had one of those when I was 17. It was this guy who had moved into the area. He was 3 years older, and he would come to the shop and we would just sit and talk about school, about life. You know, when you're 17 and you think you know everything and you're trying to put the world to right with these conversations you're having. It was purely innocent and just stimulating conversation, just enjoyable. But my parents were having none of it. They were convinced there was something happening, and they all but ruined a lovely friendship. You know, I ended up being asked to go straight into the house, you know, when he would come round. This was during a short spell when I returned home briefly, just before going to uni. And I think back on that, and that is sad. And so coming back to this huge age gap in this marriage and what sort of thing can lead to this. This hits home for me because it's similar to what my parents had. My mom was 18, my dad was 36. He was literally twice her age. The background to that, I believe, my auntie, my mom's elder sister, had fallen pregnant without being married, And I think their parents were really worried that my mom was going to face the same fate. They needn't worry. She's a goody two shoes. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, at least back then. And so the first available person, they were keen to get her married off as soon as she was done with secondary school. Off you go. I can't believe that I'm going to share this, but growing up, I recall a conversation with my mother telling me that that was something she wished she could do over and not get married so young, and actually have spent some time being by herself for a bit, maybe continuing to do something for herself. And that stayed with me, and it's something that I think about. I almost found myself in the same position as well, although not quite the same age gap. When I was 21, I got engaged to someone who was also significantly older. And I remember the feeling of being suffocated, knowing fully well that the reason this was even a consideration was because of the guilt you feel for being in a sexual relationship when you're not married, and you feel this pressure to get married just so you can take the guilt away. And knowing that that was the reason, that felt suffocating. And that was ultimately part of why the engagement lasted just 2 months. So when I look at this 19-year-old girl just getting married to a 39-year-old man in very dodgy circumstances, might I add. Let me show you another picture of them and the backstory to this. Let me see, we have another one a bit more close up. It just doesn't look right. Hold on a minute, I am looking for the article. The article with the background to this relationship, where they began dating before she turned 18. If you look down here, they were dating before she turned 18, and that they waited a few days to make it official as soon as she turned 18. This was a person that was declared missing in 2019. Who knows where she was? And there's just some bits about this story that really don't sit right. And when we're dealing with an organization that have a history of covering CSA, it sits even worse. Now, I don't know whether this is a witness thing, a thing with religious groups that are so repressive sexually, because this sort of young marriages, it's something you get in a lot of fundamentalist religions as well. But usually you see the man and the woman being around the same age. When you're talking about these huge age gaps, that's unsettling. And so I don't know if I am reading too much into this in terms of it being a witness thing, or this is a Marques thing. I've just seen it that many times. You have the double life that is inherently part of most witness lives, where they are saying one thing and doing something else. And quite a number of the male members tend to be involved in this. I mean, honestly, growing up, I think you could count on one hand people within the congregation who were not involved in some kind of double life. And the difference between the male and female biology can sometimes means that there is a bit more inhibition. Well, I certainly know that I was. The fear, the possibility of getting pregnant and what that would bring was a huge hindrance. Whereas men don't necessarily have the same thing. Yes, they can get someone pregnant, but they can deny it. In that culture, it could be a female who wasn't in a religion that they might have this second life relationship with. And so they have this opportunity to play around until they're getting older and they want to get married. And they have these women who are just developing, who naturally they want to express themselves, they want to explore themselves, and they feel like the only way to do this is to get married to someone who is significantly older, who they may or may not have very much in common with, who they're only marrying for not necessarily the right reasons. And that is troubling for me. And if that is the case, that is just one more way this religion is exposing young women to situations that they don't need to be with or be in. For this young woman's sake, I really hope that she's not being coerced in any way. I hope she's not being manipulated in any way. I really hope that this is actually what she wants, because there are those rare teenagers that know what they want, but that's not very many. And so, like a lot of people that have read this story online, there's just something about this that feels off. But they're both witnesses, they're both in the congregation, they had the support of the congregation, and so they're married. They got married last month. And there she is. She is locked into a marriage that the only way she can get out is if one of them is unfaithful. And even then, it's not that straightforward. So she is locked into this thing for life at 19, when she hasn't, most likely, not really figured out who she is, what she likes, matured her thoughts, her opinions on things. And this guy is nearly 40. It's problematic. And if you take into account as well, not just the age advantage that he has, there's also the financial advantage. He is someone that used to be, he was in movies and he's done music, and so potentially financially as well, he has the upper hand. And so she's really going into this with not a lot of leverage, into a religion that gives him even more leverage and more power. So we have age, religion, position, and money. And she's 19. I really hope this ends well, but this makes me unsettled. I don't know if I'm tripping, as the Americans say, if I'm overthinking this, if it's just my personal experiences, both from my family and myself, that's making me feel uneasy about it. I want to hear your thoughts. If you have any wonderful stories of people getting married with this sort of huge age gap, one person being really young, usually the woman, and it's been great and it's been fantastic in this religion, please let me know. If it's happening elsewhere as well and I just haven't seen it, I want to hear your thoughts as well. But yeah, this is how I feel. This is how it feels to me, and this is what I want to talk about today. The governing body keeps on creating this environment where people look free, but they're not really free. That was it today. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to edit this because I haven't quite figured out how to edit when it's just the audio, since I'm not showing my face today. I will link some videos, put some videos on this side that you can watch next if you want to. Subscribe if you haven't. Give the video a thumbs up. Why not? Do all of those good things. And I'll speak to you on the next one. Have a great rest of the week, everyone. Speak soon.